Gents, for another reloading video with Silicon Wolverine. Today we're going to talk a little bit about powder selection. As you can see from what's in front of you, I lean pretty heavily towards Alliant powders. I've been doing this for about 20 years now, and I have pared it down to 4 basic powders, and Alliant does what I want it to the best for the least money. Over here far on the right, we've got Reloader 15. This is your basic all-around rifle powder. I load 30-06, I load 308, 7.62 by 39, 223 5.56. I've loaded 375 H&H mag, 4570, 8mm Mauser, 243 Winchester. Virtually any common rifle cartridge can be loaded with RL-15. I consider it the cream of the crop in rifle powders. My match grades loads in .6 with 168 grain bullets are shooting 8 inches at 500 meters and 20 inches at 1,000 meters with RL-15 with a carefully developed load. It is as good as it gets. Next up, we have our pistol shotgun powders. Over on the right here, we got Blue Dot. This is a fairly slow powder for Magnum shot shells, big Magnum pistol cartridges. I use it for a couple fairly unique applications. I use it in 10mm auto for my steel silhouette loads with Magnum primers at about 1,525 feet per second out of a 4-inch barrel out of my Glock 20. I also use it for my widely used, greatly enjoyed 9mm carbine load with a 115 grain jacketed bullet. Being as it is a slow burning powder, you have to do 2 things to make it work. You either have to use a Magnum primer to light the charge right away so you have a large pressure spike initially, or you use it in a long barrel where the powder has time to properly burn. That's the theory behind the 9mm carbine load. It works excellent in a longer barrel, whereas in a pistol length barrel you have to use a Magnum primer to get things going. On the shot shell side, Blue Dot is great for slug or heavy buckshot loads. Especially the Lee key slugs. I use Blue Dot with my Lee key slug load. It is also a great powder for heavy, large size steel waterfowl loads in 3-inch and 3.5-inch Magnum shot shells. Next up here we got Unique. This is a middle of the road powder, middle of the road burning rate. This is a good average powder to do a lot. You can load shot shells with it. You can load pistol rounds with it. There are loads out there for cast bullet rifle rounds with Unique. It's a good overall powder to start with. There's enough bulk to it that it's awful hard to get a double charge, something of that nature. But yet it's mild enough you're not going to have any issues with pressure like you will with faster powders. You don't have to worry about Magnum primers with it. It's a good overall do-all powder. It is my go-to for cast bullet 40 Smith & Wesson and 10mm loads. Also heavy field loads using 4, 5, 6 shot for pheasants, doves, quail, that sort of thing. It's just an overall excellent powder for generalized applications. Next up we got Red Dot. This is my go-to powder for light 9mm lead bullet target loads, around 1,000 feet per second or so. With hard enough bullets, this is really good powder for shooting out of Glocks with polygonal barrels. Using wheel weights with tin and water quenched, I can run these at 1,000, 1,250 out of my Glock with very minimal leading out of the factory polygonal barrel. It is also my go-to powder for 7.5 or 8 trap target loads in 12 gauge and 20 gauge. It's very, very economical. That's Red Dot's big selling point. A pound of powder has 7,000 grains. Most of my 9mm loads are around 3 grains or a little less. Most of my shot shell charges with Red Dot are in the 7, 8, 9 grain for my target loads. You can go a long ways on a pound of Red Dot. It is an excellent powder. Now we come to the one IMR powder I use. Now I'm not trying to knock IMR. IMR makes great powder. I have just discovered that Alliant does the job for me cheaper, better, and more economically. Trail Boss is a very unique powder. If you buy a jug and open it up, the jug is completely full, but yet there's only 9 ounces in this bottle. That is because Trail Boss was uniquely designed to be very, very bulky. It's a flat flake powder, like all of our dot powders and Unique, but it's got a hole in the middle. It's like a little tiny Cheerio, and that makes it very, very good for applications where you have a lot of case capacity, but you don't necessarily need it all. Case in point, 4570 Government. I am shooting a cast 505 grain bullet out of a Lee mold with enough powder to fill the space between the bottom of the case and the bottom of the bullet. The advantage to this is you have no air gaps in there to interfere with your powder burn rates. It's almost a solid but not quite solid block of powder. It ignites, it burns properly throughout, and creates a nice consistent burn. I also use this powder for cast target loads in 38 Special and 357 Magnum. You know, mild 1200, 1250 feet per second loads. I also use it for my homegrown shot cartridges for 38 through 57. These are Spear shot capsules filled with a mix of number 4 and 7.5. The same story, same scenario. You fill the case to the bottom of the shot cup. It just fills the space. There's no additional room to create any problems for you. These 5 jugs of powder was what is on my shelf. I have tried others over the years. I used IMR for a lot of years, and I didn't get the consistency I wanted. As soon as I switched to Reloader 15 for my rifle rounds, my groups tightened up. My consistency greatly improved versus IMR powders. My color powders, those 3 jugs will do virtually anything you can do with a pistol or shotgun round. These 3 powders can do it. There are others, Green Dot, Steel, 2028. There's lots of others, but these 3 will do virtually everything. You know, you really don't need any more. These 3 will do it. The Trail Boss, like I said, is for unique applications, very specific situations. It's not something you use very often. Like I said, I use it for my 4570s. I use it for my revolver cartridges. That's where it shines. That's the only place it gets used. Everything else I load gets loaded with Alliant powders. And as a side note, I cannot stress highly enough the quality of Alliant tech service. I have called into them with some really strange questions from time to time. Engineering questions, ballistics questions about their powders. I have been on the phone with Alliant Tech guys for 2.5 hours asking questions, getting explanations, and they were perfectly happy to do that for me. They give me starting loads for things that are not in the books, stuff they have they're working on that's not published yet. They'll give me starting points and max loads for that kind of stuff. If you have any questions on Alliant products, give them a call. Their techs are top notch. I cannot stress highly enough how great their techs are. Anytime I have a question, that's where I go. And believe it or not, yeah, the reloading legend Silicon Wolverine does have questions from time to time. So there we are for today, folks. Just a little bit on powder. Thanks for watching. I appreciate the views. We will catch you next time.